Hello. Hello.
Shalom. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Giving honor and praise unto the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. In this particular presentation called Leviticus 18, Hebrew Part 2, we're going to go over the matter of Hebrew as well as a matter of a service dedicated to the Shabbat, as well as the commemoration of the new moon. We hope and pray that everybody is well and will be better. So, brothers and sisters, without any further ado, we're going to pull up the PowerPoint, if we will, brothers and sisters. And this is on the channels, Mordeh Yeshaya Torah lessons, as well as Mordeh Yeshaya Hebrew lessons. Why? Because Leviticus is in the Torah, and we're going over Hebrew. Thus, I had it put upon both channels in that particular case. To the people who have subscribed, it is appreciated. To the people who like, comment, and share, it is definitely appreciated. We again hope and pray that everybody is well and will be better. If I can be heard and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. If I can be heard well and people are in good spirits, please type in the number 4. Thank you for that. Shalom, Sarai, my lady, and thank you for your support. May the Most High continue to bless your life as well. Toda Rabbah. So, brothers and sisters, for some odd reason, when the PowerPoints are made and we see Most High, as you see on the screen there, for whatever reason, they try to say that that's a misspelling, which we know is ludicrous. So that is their particular way of stuff. That's not our way. We know and understand getting brothers and sisters of the 7th month upon the Hebrew calendar. And this was intended to go on last night, but due to certain situations, nothing real bad, it got postponed to this morning. All right. So, Shalom, giving honor to the Most High. Let me change that real quick and check self, or as they say, checking oneself. 2. Just wanted to show that right there in that case. All right. So let us look at this. This presentation is brought to you by Danite Publications. We hope you are well and will be better. We hope and ask that you subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. I can be reached at email at yyisra22@yahoo.com. For those who know, currently, the telephone number starting at 908 is currently out of service. And not to talk business, I had to prioritize a certain matter. So I had to decide which one was more important in dealing with certain situations and trying to maintain a place and maintaining substance in the place. I decided for the moment until next month when that phone will be put back on. Nonetheless, I can be reached at the email that you see there, brothers and sisters. And let us get into this particular matter and presentation. Introduction. We ask you all to subscribe to the channel. We also ask you all to comment, like, and share. This presentation, Leviticus 18, Hebrew Part 2, is based on the Hebrew we see in Leviticus 18, verses 4 and 5. In continuing in this matter of biblical Hebrew, we would like to address what is the adjective, the verb, the noun, the prefix, and the suffix. We ask you all to get your pens, paper, and phones. We hope you all are well and will be better. Now, why do I say phones? Because in certain instances, and it's up to you, you can actually take a screenshot of what the presentation is about, going over matters of Hebrew. We are dealing with this, and this is going to be, brothers and sisters, a 20-slide presentation. We have gone through 2 of the slides so far. So there are 18 slides left in this particular presentation. So, sidebar, I'm going to go and get a pen, because for me, having a pen in my hand when going over a presentation puts me more in the spirit of it. So bear with me 1 second. Be right there, family. Thank you so much. Hopefully everybody is well and will be better. Shalom, my brother, Yaret Yehuda. Boker Tov to you as well. All right. We ask you to get your pens, your pads, paper, take notes, as well as say your phones. All righty, let's continue in this presentation. Wa'et mishpatai ta'asu, or should I just say, as it states, et mishpatai ta'asu. In the presentation last week, which was done last Friday night, not last night, but the one before, we explained that the word ta'asu comes from the root word asa. As in that video, this video too, I have the link of the description, in the description of the explanation of the verb asa. The verb asa means to do or to make. All right. Ta'asu. Now, I wanted to point out, I did this actually and left it as purpose. If we look at the highlighter, right? In this particular matter, we have su here and su here. You see that? Just underlined there in the yellow. Now, in that particular case, I am pointing out that there is no correct English spelling of a Hebrew word. Since words such as ta'asu, mishpatai are not English words, you can spell it any almost way you want, because what you're doing in part is just taking a Hebrew word, in this case, and then putting it into English letters. That does not make it an English word. All right? So, in light of that, there therefore cannot be any correct English spelling for a word that's not English. All right? Ta'asu means you all will do. This is inclusive of males and females or just males. So if you got 4 females and 4 males, and one is speaking to them saying ta'asu, meaning you all will do, that's how that goes in that case. If there are 4 males alone, you would still say that same word, meaning you all will do. Means you will do, speaking to the you being more than one person, second person plural, if you will. All right. If it is just females, the you all will do is ta'asena. In this presentation, point this out for edification purposes. All right. Just want that to be noted in that particular case. Let us continue. If there's any questions or comments, please feel free to type it within the chat. Thank you for such. All right. Ta'asena and her brother Ta'asu. Let's look at this here. Right? And we want to point this out with the laser pointer. Ta'asu. This word means you all will do. Ta'asena. This word means you all will do when speaking to only females. So if there are 4 females and 4 males, right? And you're saying Ta'asena, you are speaking only to the females in that particular setting. All right? Just want to point that out in that case. Ta'asena, this word means they will do when only speaking about females. So the word they, as in the word he or she, is the third person. They is the third person plural, and he is the third person singular male, and she is the third person female. In the matter that some people are attempting to present, brothers and sisters, there is no Hebraic way to change the pronouns. So if you are born a male, you shall remain such until you leave this earth. If you are born a female, you shall remain such until you leave this earth. That's something we want to point out in that particular case. All right? Ya'asu, this word means they will do when speaking only about males or males and females. Let's go on with the time allotted to the next slide. All right? Et mishpatai. Et. This word is used to show the definite accusative. This is used to show the direct object. In this case, it is the mishpatim. The mishpatim meaning judgment or judgments plural. All right? So what do we want to point out? When dealing, say, with the word et, it shows a definite article. We also see that et, when you look at the part number 3 of the power punchline, et used to in matters of proper names. So I want to just show this, brothers and sisters. All right, in this particular matter. And let's look at it. Just wanted to show that in that realm, right? And we see, brothers and sisters, used to in matters of proper names. Yeshaya wa'et Sarai. Sarai wa'et Yeshaya. Because you're speaking of a particular Yeshaya, you're speaking of a particular Sarai. So because, brothers and sisters, the word et is used as a definite, meaning something that is defined, something that is pinpoint, something that is just not a general matter. The direct object, in this case, the object is in Leviticus, the mishpatim or the judgments. Et, something that is showing a particular, not general matter. Exodus chapter 20, verse 8. Et yom ha-shabbat, the Sabbath day or time. Now, say about 2 or 3 weeks ago upon the channel, we explained that the word yom can mean day and it also means time. And that takes you into the Hebrew of Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 10. All right. So just want to point that out in that particular case. Let's go on, family. This shows that Sabbath does not rotate. Because it's a definite pinpoint time, it shows that it doesn't rotate from one thing to the next in that particular case. All right? You, otka. This is a direct pronoun. This goes after verbs, not never before. Them, otam, is a direct pronoun. This goes after verbs never before. Let's remember that. Next slide, please. Instances of the word et. Now, in Hebrew, we see this and we want to point this out, all right, with the laser pointer. Waikal Moshe et hamlaka, meaning, thus Moses finished the work. Now, Waikal comes from the Hebrew root word in part, kala, which means to finish or to complete. All right? Moshe, we know as Moses. Et hamlaka. The work in particular is talking about the work regarding the tabernacle. So that's why you will see, brothers and sisters, with the word et shown. We want to show this in the highlighter. All right. That's why you'll see et here, as in you see it up here. All right. Now going back, if we will, with the laser pointer, the tenor meeting, et ohel moed. So it's not just any tenor meeting, it's a specific one. Thus the word et precedes it. Now, what you will call there, correct me if I'm wrong, a hyphen in English, in Hebrew is referred to, correct me if I'm wrong, as a mafek, M-A-F-F-A-Q, or M-A-F-F-E-Q, all right? That's just a modern word for something shown in the written form of Hebrew. I want to say this in due respect. It appears maybe perhaps that ancient Israel had people who did not know how to read. And this is not to dampen nobody's spirit. Do you think those men in the book of Judges that assaulted the lady all night till she passed away knew how to read? Something tells me those those gutter kind of men, those base men, did not know per se how to read. The Danites who kidnapped the Levite, can we think that they knew how to read? How many times was it supposed to be the law written on your doorpost? So literacy was definitely promoted in Israel. You understand? Shalom. Yirmiyahu Yisrael. How you doing, Aki? All right? So just want to point that out for reference purposes. Wayitain et hakaporet. And he put the mercy seat. Wayitain means and he put, and he placed, and he gave. All right, just want to point that out. Now let's point something out with the time frame we're in. Mercy comes from the word here, ha-kaporet. That kaf, that pay, and that resh, kapar. What does the word kapar mean? Or kippir. What does kippir mean? Do we see where we're going? Kapar, kippir, kippur, Yom Kippur. Now, that kaf, that pay, and that resh, in that particular case, brothers and sisters, translated there as the mercy seat, that is talking about the matter. See, I didn't even, thank you, my brother. See, I didn't even go there yet. Paul does mean to cover. But see, Paul, thank you for that, my brother. Yirmiyahu also means to atone. So when you are making atonement, you're making what? A covering. That's why some people talk about, do you have your covering? Kapar does mean, or kippur, thank you for that, my brother, does mean to cover. Also means to atone. This is where we get Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And we want to say, being several days from it, that it is just not about not eating. I remember one time a man, may he rest in peace, Moreh Hoshea, he said, if you don't eat the night before and rush into your job for 8 hours after not eating the night before, and if you get caught on the double, You may not eat that whole day. And a lot of people was like, never thought about that. Meanwhile, you're working. So the point is, in saying that Yom Kippur is just not about not eating or drinking, because you can simply just not eat or drink. Isaiah 58 we'll go over, because I intend on Yom Kippur, which is so-called Monday after next coming, a short service. And in that, to go over Isaiah the 58th chapter, in which matters get into why we atone, why we fast, and the purpose of it. And how some people do it for show, sadly, and some people do it really from the heart. All right? So these are things we just want to point out. So when you say the mercy seat or to cover, it was the ark covering. When we say in the English mercy seat, it's talking about where the Ruach of the Most High, the Shekinah, will be within the nation of Israel by what they call the Ark of the Covenant, which is called in Hebrew, Aron Berit. Is that what Mussolini was trying to find and invade in Ethiopia? Who knows? The Apocrypha teaches us that when Jerusalem got destroyed, Jeremiah and the Israelites of the tribe of the Levites took the Ark of the Covenant with them into Egypt. Was it moved from that point on? Who knows? So, brothers and sisters, again, this is something we want to point out for reference purposes. Laser pointer. We on the right hand side, sorry. Et Hashemayim, wa et haaret, the heavens and the earth. The heavens specifically. That's why it uses the word there, et, as pointed out. All right? Et shenei ham orot hagdolim, the two great lights. Now that being the sun and the moon in Genesis, even though the moon is the lesser light, it's still a great light. So of the two great lights, one is greater than the other. So what can we point out in Hebrew here? All right, we're going to show with a different matter or color. All right, what it says, et shenei ham orot. All right, and that's translated as lights. Me'or, meaning light. The Hebrew word he'ir, brothers and sisters, means to illuminate. So as we've been pointing out on this channel, Mordeh Yeshaya Torah lessons and certainly Mordeh Yeshaya Hebrew lessons, right? When that mem being circled there in the red is shown, it makes the verb into a noun. This is how you get the grammar matter in Hebrew. So me'ora, ma'or, or meaning light. Hagdolim, how do you say high priest? HaKohen, the priest, Hagadol. HaKohen, Hagadol, the high priest. HaKohen, Gadol, the priest is high. Now, the high priest is HaKohen, Hagadol. Kohen Gadol means a high priest. Kohen Hagadol means a priest who is high. This is how Hebrew works. We're going to get into that, and I'm going to use the example of high priest to show how to say a priest, a high priest, the priest is high, the high priest. And how Hebrew works in that. Take what I say of my lady, Sarai. Isha, meaning a woman. Isha Toba, a good woman. Sarai, Isha Toba. Sarai is a good woman. Ha Isha ha Toba Sarai, the good woman Sarai. That's how Hebrew works when you're showing the grammar, when you put the word is in there, when it's just the word a in there. That's how it works. We're going to use the Kohen Gadol matter and my lady Sarai as an example to show why. Because people talk to people. Hebrew is a language that's spoken. Sometimes people say, when you speak Hebrew, you can't speak in your normal voice. Why not? When a woman gives birth, if all she knows is Hebrew, what voice is she going to use? When the Israelites shouted when the Ark of the Covenant was there, unfortunately, the Lord's still in the time of Samuel, even with the Ark. What does that tell you? And it's not to try to be preachy. Israel had the Ark there and still lost. Because your righteousness needs to be high. The Ark of the Covenant can't cover your wickedness. See, when you got the witch over there, the sorceress over there, the person dealing with idols over there, and then you got the Ark of the Covenant in your army, and you got false gods in your pocket, the Ark of the Covenant can't cover that. You got to get rid of the evil in order for anything of the Ark to really, truly work. It's a blockage. You got to get rid of the powder cake before it enters that house, said Malcolm. Before it explodes. And Israel lost the battle. The Ark of the Covenant got stolen. Eli's two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, got killed. Being a Levite of the house of Aaron does not atone for your wickedness. Your sons of Levi, you bringing a woman in the camp and sleeping with them, like it said, the Hophni and Phinehas. That's not what they're there for. What can we spiritually learn? When sisters come into the camp, brothers, don't be, yo, here's my number, girl. She ain't come to see you. Give her some time, and I promise, like mommy told me, a woman definitely about honor. If a woman like you, she'll let you know. I was like, how? You'll find out. Even mommy wasn't, quote, revealing all the secrets. But I remember her telling me, you don't have to sit there. What sisters today call thirsty, mommy called desperate. I like you. I like you. I like you. If she likes you and you like her, y'all going to know it maybe even before you say it. So you ain't got to go in there. I'm going to try to talk to her. And I'm going to try to talk to her. And because mommy told me, women talk. Like, he tried to talk to you. Yeah, he tried to talk to me. Oh, we see what he's about. He's just trying to talk to someone. Bye-bye, Ak. And I seen it in Israel growing up. They asked that brother to leave. What are you here for? You come in single. You're trying to talk to all of the sisters. That's not what we about. If you get with a sister in here, then so be it. Go through the council. Speak with the elders. Plan your wedding. And one other brother did it. And took that sister out the camp and flew away. All the way to Ghana. And they lived happily ever after to this day, still online. So I'm saying, brothers and sisters, there was a good way it was done, just pointed out, and a sloppy way that it was done, pointed out. So in Israel, we want to point out, as we get into the timing of Yom Kippur, that cannot cover you if you're not trying to make those amends. Do you understand? The people that was making these things had to be of a certain character. It said the Most High filled with making the tabernacle and everything and the curtains and all of that, and the Ark of the Covenant was only two people. Well, making the Ark of the Covenant. It was two people, one Danite, one Judite. And to show you about time and place. Once they finished making the Ark of the Covenant, you know they couldn't touch it after that, after it was consecrated. You did your portion, your job is done. Next. Now, that's not how we should do with each other as people. But once it comes to a project, as in saying I'm making the Ark of the Covenant, doing a matter and presentation, there's a beginning of the job and then the ending of such. We shouldn't treat our brothers and sisters as a job, though, or a chore or a duty, but rather a love, compassion, and responsibility. And that is where it boils down to it. All right? So, or means light. Hey, ir means to illuminate. And by adding that mem, as you see there, circled in the red, makes that noun, makes that verb a noun. Now, let's look at the next part, right, with the laser pointer. Thank you all for joining into the chat. All right? And this is the laser pointer. Et hataninim, hadolim, wa et kal, nefeshakaya. What was ancient Israel saying? The great sea creatures and all the living soul. That's what they called it. We don't have no time to try to say the octopus and the crocodile and the Loch Ness monster and the dinosaur of the sea and the Leviathan that you read of in Isaiah. Yeah, you all are under the banner of sea creature, the sea monsters. The octopus and the crocodile is all in the same thing of a tanin. Now let's point this out in Israel. In Exodus, when it says that the staff was cast down by Moses and Aaron, right? It said that their staff turned into a tanin, and that the Egyptian staffs turned into nikhashim, which means that the staff that Moses and Aaron had turned into a different creature than the staffs of the pharaohs, magicians. What animal did that become? You do not, I say, from bad and good experiences. Personally, you do not want to contest the Most High. He knows, as pointed out, how to talk to you and how to get to you. He knew what the Egyptians were sitting and be like, this ain't normal. But they understood what culture it was. Let's take who they had playing Moses and Aaron. Let's say Aaron's face really looked like the way Cecil B. DeMille's, of course Aaron was black, in the movie looking like, one is eating up the other. They didn't expect or know what's going to happen. That to me is one of the deepest portions. But why animals? Why not turn into a person? So when you read inside of Egyptian records about their priests doing kind of things, ancient Israel didn't deny it. You did it through your secret arts, but this is what Elohim knew our God is able to do. So the Most High fights for his people by letting the nations know what it is. Al Tishanu Al Yah, do not sleep on the Most High. And Israel, if we know, and I hate to have to get racial or color in this case, and we've been saying since 1896, since Chattanooga, Tennessee people, Prophet Cherry was up there in Tennessee saying that the black man reading English, Hebrew, and Yiddish is the true house of Israel, and that in slavery, your history was stolen. There was a man named Prophet Cherry saying that in Tennessee in 1896. That was before the Jewish Holocaust. When you read about the matter with Rabbi Ford and Rabbi Matthew, Beit B'nai Abraham in 1915, over 100 years ago. The Commandment Keepers in 1922, now over 100 years ago. All of those dates, 1896, 1915, and 1922, when people were already talking about being Israel. Let's not forget this matter and the Appomattox in Virginia. I got a book called Israel on the Appomattox when they were saying they're the tribe of Judah in Virginia in 1784. You heard right. 1,784 years after JC's death. 1784, the people were saying in Virginia, on the east part of the state, they were the tribe of Judah. Israelite community in Virginia in the 1700s. And they do have a plaque and a monument made in Virginia of them. This is not new knowledge. So when we begin to sit there and think that we can play games with each other, when who we've been saying for now almost centuries that these people stole our coat and now wearing it, what makes us think we can play each other when the Most High didn't allow the nation to play us? If we are seeing the Most High is opening up our eyes to this truth, what makes us think we can play each other and the Most High don't reveal us? See what I mean? We can't sit back and think that's the case. And we insult our own intelligence thinking that it's just us. That's why I say to anybody, pick your Hebrew teacher. I'm not your only Hebrew teacher. I promise you, a brother's not going to be in my feelings in you're supposed to stick with Moreh Yeshaya. No. Because I'll be the first to tell you, like I told the people with the Divine Academy, when they setting up their thing, I'd rather teach people Hebrew who's over 10 years old. So if you got a child younger, you may want to pick a different teacher who has that patience and tenacity to deal with a child and the attention span that's needed. So pick your Hebrew teacher, brothers and sisters, in this case. All right? So, yes, may their memory be blessed. So we're continuing a legacy in this case. But yeah, before it really went to New York, in the Midwest, from Tennessee to Ohio, this knowledge of Israel was already being known. That school that you see where the brothers come from, One West, ISUPK, GOCC, IUIC, and all of those branches that came out of One West, the teacher of One West was a guy named Abba Bivens. Let's go into that for those who do know. Abba Bivens teamed up with a man from a guy named Nasi Barak from the congregation of B'nai Zakim. Let's go into a little bit of Israelite history. He was from Panama. Most High continue to bless his life. He taught the brothers from One West how to wrap the turban that you see Yaquab and Shar and all them wear. Let's get into that history for those who do know. They all know about Nasi Barak coming out of Benai, an Old Testament camp, because the school that's on One West used to be called the Tanakh School, not the Israelite school of Jesus, of God and Jesus Christ. That was not their original name. Their original name under Abba Bivens in the 1960s was called the Tanakh School. Those who do know that history. You understand? This is why the brothers that come out of One West say the original one was Old Testament based. Like, yeah, they know. That's not a lie. And they wore mainly white until the change of their style of clothing. I'm a man not knocking another man's clothes one way or the other, changed up to the studs and the leather that you might see them wear. And they even get that out the Old Testament. Because Solomon said he used to put gold in his hair. And everybody knows about the wristbands that ancient Israel would wear and so forth. So we just want to point this out for edification purposes. Yes, the style of turban wrap that you used to see the brothers, IUIC don't wear nothing on their head, but the style of turban wrap that you see coming from what they call the original seven, Shaw, and those other ones whom I know personally, so I'm comfortable saying that person's name, that came from the guys that started it out of B'nai Zakim. B'nai Zakim was started by an elder, may he rest in peace, named Nasi Yaakov, who was in Brooklyn but came out of Ohio. This is my point in pointing out Israel's knowledge was big between Tennessee and that in Chicago. There are more camps in Chicago than New York City. Even though everyone thinks you're one way, yes, there are more Israelite camps in Chicago than New York City. We're just talking about two different cities. Some are Old Testament based, some are Messianic based. But the knowledge of Israel is not like in Chicago. And when they had issues with the Muslims, because let's get into that sad history, if I may. Israelites used to get jumped by Muslims in Chicago, not to get sidetracked from what we're talking about, when they used to see you wearing the Magen David or what's some called the 6-point star or so. This is proven history. You know that guy who called himself Dr. York? You know he went to an Israelite camp back in the 1970s and said, we are the Hebrew Israelites? The year 1971, the elders told me this. This is before I was born, so I'm telling you what the elders passed down to me. The guy who called himself later on Mahdi Isa, and then later on Malachi York, he went to an Israelite congregation and said, we are the Hebrew Israelites. In Dr. York's book called Our Bondage, he cited the same thing Israelites been citing for decades in Deuteronomy 28:68. On his old books as Nuwapu, he used to sit there and cite Deuteronomy 16 verse 10 talking about an offering. I have those books in storage. Right Knowledge, once you get this, read his books. I used to buy it over by the Coliseum area in Jamaica, Queens. or Parsons, which is Nubians, just basically saying Nubian. So what can we point out? Be very clean. You've seen sadly what happened with Dr. York. You've seen recently what happened to his student.
Baby, Dr. York.
See, you can't do those kind of things and everything be all right. And Leviticus 18 gets into that. You're not to take a woman and her daughter. But people thought it was funny when Polite was shooting the Bible. The Bible that says you should not defraud, you should not lie. And then he's doing real estate scams and defrauding the people. Of course, you're going to want to shoot Leviticus. It stands against your conscience. People thought that was funny. Until now, you see why the spiritual eye was for such in that particular manner. And all of these allegations coming up. There is something, and I spoke with people about this. An accuser's story, when telling the truth, doesn't change. And a falsely accused person will always maintain one's innocence. Not like what Son did. I didn't make no plea deal. That's not saying you're innocent. People want to hear you say the allegations are false. People want to hear you say, I have been lied on. Not, you hating on me. You're hating on my shine. You're always going to have haters. That's not an admission of innocence. Just like there's an admission of guilt, there's also an admission of innocence. So brothers and sisters, you should not take a woman and her daughter. That is just gross. The Most High has made it to where there are so many people on this earth. There is no logical reason for that whatsoever. To show you that there was thousands of people in the wilderness under the leadership of Moses. The Ashanti and other tribes in Western Africa do cross-cousin marriages. And ancient Israel does it too, with the daughters of Zelophehad and Numbers. But they had to go to the level of Moses. Moses ain't know what to do. He went to the Most High. The Most High said, these girls, pardon me, these, because we don't deal with girls, we deal with women as men. Let's get it straight. Let's get it straight. My daughter is 17. She's a girl. The woman I'm courting with, we're over 40, not to get too personal. I've noticed talking to white dudes, they always say they're black girl. Their girl's black. She's 30-something years old, 40-something years old. They all say girl. Sometimes women talking to each other say girl. But we have to know and understand that we want to put it in proper context, certainly in Hebrew thought. Because my lady is a Zemuka, a grown woman, not a Na'ara, a girl. She's not a Yalda, a lass. She is a Zamuka, a grown woman. I am a Zamuak, a grown man. You know how it is as us as men. Let somebody call you boy and see what happens. That's almost as worse as saying the N-word. I ain't no boy, I'm a man. So that's what they used to do in slavery. So I'm saying all of that, brothers and sisters, to point out this. Be clean. Just went over a little bit of Israelite history, where some of it started in the United States and so forth. You do know there's a community, if not in Missouri or Wisconsin, that live off the land. You do know that. There are communities where you don't have to go to ShopRite. You don't have to go to Key Food. They have whole communities. We need to link up with each other, Israel. We are each other's most valuable resources. Shabba Ranks said it, and I'm gonna almost say this in every presentation, because I was a big Shabba Ranks fan since I was a child. Black people suffer because we don't stick together. That's the real reason. The white man, no. Ain't no way in the world, even if we know and understand, Hamites sold Israelites. They seen black people selling black people. That could have never happened if the people that were around there did not turn on each other. Nat Turner said that. Somebody must have snitched. You must have tortured the person till they snitched on where I'm at. That's what happened in Legacy, to correct me if I'm wrong, to Zambia Palmares before the Portuguese dealers killed him in 1695. So we were always a matter of being a rebel against the oppression. You know, I have a female in my family that didn't have the best relationship, got with somebody else and is now happy. This ain't one of them kind of Tyler Perry kind of movies. This was a real life story. And that's what we as Israel are going to have to do. We being a wife of the Most High, slapped around, disrespected, humiliated, treated like a harlot. Isaiah 51 says Israel became the people who laid down and let everybody walk on their back. Just take advantage of me, world. I love everyone. But eventually, they know that's going to end. So getting back into this presentation, brothers and sisters, right? Et hataninim, hadolim, the great sea monsters, or the great sea creatures, just worded as tanin in Hebrew. Next slide. We'et kukwotai tishmaru. The word kukwotai, you can get your phones, take your screenshots, free of charge. The word kukwotai, we see a lot of vowels. In the description, there is a video link to Hebrew class number 6, in which the matter of the vowels are explained thoroughly. The word kukwotai means my statutes or my laws. What if I told you, and this is a copy and paste from my Facebook, what if I told you that Torah does not literally mean law, but does mean a teaching? Well, the word Torah comes from the word Hora. The word Hora, yes, means female parent and noun, means in verb to teach. So what does that tell us? If Hora means a female parent and Torah means a teaching, and a female teacher is a Mora, you're the parent by default in teaching. So all parents are teachers. Torah, a teaching. Mora, a female teacher. Hora, a female parent. See how it all rhymes, Hebrew rhymes? More, male teacher. The word Hora, yes, means female parent. When the hey letter is in a verb, in this case, the peyod verb, the yod in a qual stem becomes a hey, in a hefil stem. We may see a tau or thou in a noun. The last letter of the Hebrew alphabet will properly more so be called thou than tav. This is how you get Bethlehem. So, brothers and sisters, I want to show this by getting the camera on and showing with my Hebrew chart, if I will. So I already had the Hebrew chart. Sorry about that, family. This is why I like my pen. So I'm going to turn on the camera so we can see in live timing, right? This letter here, this is how you get Tob. Starts with this letter here, the letter Tet, where that's at. All right? Want to point that out in that case. All right? Tob doesn't begin with Tau. Torah does not begin with Tet. Then we have this last letter here, Tau, which should more so be said as pointed out, Thou, which means what in Hebrew? Sign. Tet. Sorry. Tet in Hebrew more so means snake. That's where you get Tob, like Boquer Tob. You understand? I learned about call and response from my mommy. May she rest in peace. You walk by without a nice, good greeting, the reaction is slap across the face to an elder or anybody around. If I have company in a house, you be the first to speak. When an elder gets on the bus, talking about Hora and teacher, when an elder gets on the bus, my son better be the first one to offer the seat. Now, I ain't gonna lie. In my mind, I was like, I hope this elder rejects it so I can stay sitting. But I knew that sometimes elders say, oh no, I'm getting off next stop. And everybody looks at my mother's son, not to be haughty, like she raising him well. She's not getting up. You get up. This is something they point out, and I give respect to the people in the congregation Shema Yisrael about this. How in the world do you have people on the train getting up for children? We're not talking about a child that's sick or something like that. I see that sometimes. Oh, a child is there. You don't reverse the roles. You made what is good bad and bad good. The child gets up for the elder, not the opposite way. Read Leviticus 19. You shall rise before the hoary head and honor the face of the old man. Proverbs 31, woman. What about the Proverbs 31 man? It says her husband is known when he sits among the elders of the city. He's not there like Rehoboam, son of Solomon. I'm 40 years old, and I'm going to listen to the knuckleheads I was raised up with. Well, Solomon was like this. Make it worse. Rehoboam's friends were haters. They didn't want to see him shine. So they gave him advice, and like making a foolish decision, Rehoboam said, you know what? My father did this, and I'm going to do that, following not the counsel of elders. Rehoboam, son of Solomon, lost a good part of the kingdom listening to his knucklehead friends. Watch your friends, like it says in Sirach. Take heed to your friends and try your friend. See if your friend is a hater. Now, this is an example that's extreme, and I'm not saying anyone that ever sell narcotics. A person selling it said one time that he sent someone out to make a, quote, package delivery, but told the other person, give him 2 times the amount in money. So if it was to be $5, just using that, the person who was sent was given $10, even though what it was quote unquote worth was $5. You know, I want to quote, try a friend and see if you come back with the $10 or just the $5. And then I can see if you're trustworthy. So if you can stand on your own merit, and if you can sit there and face the furnace of adversity, which makes acceptable men, or tried in what? The furnace of adversity, then you'll be able to sit there and handle that. So we want to point that out for reference purposes. Hoping and praying that everybody is well and will be better. If I can be heard well and people in good spirits, please type in the number 4. If I can be heard well and people in good spirits, please type in the number 4. So we could point out that the word coke means law. And we're going to point that out as the time goes along, brothers and sisters. All right. So kukwotai literally means my laws, also meaning my statutes. All right. Any questions about that? Please feel free to type it into the chat. All right. Next slide. Pens and pads are needed. 18. Urpidot zaruchim. 18. Urpidot zaruchim. Kok. This word kok means law, decree. That which is inscribed is a noun. In the verb form, it is kakauk, meaning to cut in or to decree. Behold, I have graven you on the palms. The Hebrew says, and this is why we say we want to get the pens and so forth, right? Hain, behold. All right? In that particular case. Al kapayim, on the palms. Color coding it. Kakwotik, I have graven you. Now, brothers and sisters, let's look at this and get some Hebrew edification, if we will. right? This kaf sofit that you see there is the U that we see here. All right. That's something we want to point out, having this color coded. All right. So let's go on, brothers and sisters, and look in this particular matter. The word kakak is an iron verb, and that the second and third root letter is the same letter. All right. Goes on to say, thank you for that, with the laser pointer. Kukwa akat means one law. All right. Et zot kukwat hapasak. Pardon me, not et, sorry. Zot kukwat hapasak. Zot kukwat hapasak. This is the law of the Passover. So, brothers and sisters, we want to point out, right? Highlighter, zot and zot means this. And we want to color code it, if we will, right? Have the yellow there. Kukwat, the law of. And Pasak is Passover. All right, so we have Passover, Pasak, in that case. So, brothers and sisters, in getting into this, again, if there's any questions or comments, please feel free to type it within the chat. Any questions or comments? Again, please feel free to type it into the chat. Let us continue in this particular manner. Tishmeru, you all shall observe. This word tishmeru comes from the word shamar. All right. And the word shamar means to guard, to watch, or to keep. This word literally means he guarded, watched, observed, kept. To guard or to watch literally is lishmor. In the presentation last week, we explained how the lamed works as a prefix. You can look up that lesson, Leviticus 18 Hebrew, on the channels. Subscribe to the channel. Now, brothers and sisters, in color coding this, we're going to use a different color on the right-hand side. We have the word shamor, which means do or keep, sometimes seen as shemor. And what that means is the same as a command form in that particular realm. Shambra, keep. This form is in a way of appealing for something. So if you were to say in prayer, Shambra oti, keep me, guard me, that's how that will go with that. So in many cases, we might want to use that form of Shambra, Zakra, guard, remember, which is in a form of appealing or making an appellation or a petition, as opposed to in prayer saying a command form. So just want to point that out, all right? Stay tuned for more Hebrew classes in this particular realm. We have here Shamarti, I kept, I observed. All right? Shamarti. Then we have here Eshmor, I will keep, I will observe. Eshmor in that particular case. If there are any questions or comments, please feel free to type it in the chat. Questions or comments, please feel free to type it in the chat. Thank you for that. Next part. La leket bahem, to go or to walk in them. All right. The word la leket literally means to walk or to go. The root comes from the word halak, literally means he walked or he went. So if you said halakti, it means I went. Halakti lakhanut, I went to the store. Halakti shemusha, I went to the bathroom. Halakti kedra, I went to the room. Halakti beita, I went to the house. So we just want to point that out in that case. Now, whether you say halakti, meaning I went, or it means I went in past tense, or I walked, either one, that's for males or females. And the pronoun for it, it will be ani. All right? So, as pointed out, for males or females. The word bahem means in them or with them. So that's something we want to point out for reference purposes. Now, remember, brothers and sisters, when we were saying pens and pads are needed, remember we went over that? Well, here's the part of the reason why a brother is saying that. I'm going to leave that there so you can see. Use your phones if you care to screenshot. In me, B. In you, Baka. In you, female, Bak. In him, Bo. In her, Bah. In us, Banu. In you, masculine plural, Bakem. In you, feminine plural, Baken. In them, Bahem, masculine. In them, Bahen, feminine. So I'm going to leave that on the screen for just a little while, brothers and sisters, so people can take notes. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Thank you for that. Let's continue on in this presentation. Elohim, your God. Now let's look, brothers and sisters, in this manner. We have here the laser pointer. Maha Lal El. Maha Lal El. Genesis 5. The name means praising El. El means God. The same word means power, might, strength. El from Agil means to be mighty. Why do I want to point that out in Genesis 5? Some people are saying, and that Yisrael, quote, borrowed from such, which is erroneous. El simply means mighty one, powerful one, strong one. With the word God, some people may have not remembered or known that El pointed out simply means power, might, or strength. And who is powerful like the Most High God? No one. So it would make sense to say El would mean God as well. All right. Once we get into the Hebraic understanding of a particular matter, it will make more sense. Now, Canaan didn't come until after Ham. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mahalalel is the ancestor of Noah. So if his name, and we want to highlight this if we will, right? If his name, brothers and sisters, we want to highlight this, say in the yellow, right? It's El in it, and it's before Canaan. That means El would be known before Canaan existed. Let us go into Genesis chapter 5 and read it, if we will, family. All right? Just want to point that out. So, brothers and sisters, let's go to Genesis chapter 5. All right? Thank you all for the time. I know it's the Sabbath. I know many other channels are in operation. So those who decided to accompany us in Danite Publications, it is definitely welcome. I'm not trying to take nobody from another channel. I know currently you got different channels on at this time. So whether you listen now or later is definitely appreciated. All right? Because I intend to listen to another channel sometimes on Shabbat. This presentation was going to be done last night, but due to a situation having to talk with family, it got postponed. All right? So, Mishpakari Shona, family is first. In that particular manner, we want to point out, we're going to be reading in Genesis chapter 5. All right? And we're going to be reading in verse 13. No, verse 12. Genesis 5, verse 12. All right? And it says this. And Canaan, not Canaan, but Canaan, lived 70 years and begot Mahalalel. And Canaan lived after he begot Mahalalel 840 years and begot sons and daughters. So why do we think that there wasn't people around outside of just this genealogy? If it says that he lived X amount of years after, he didn't sit there and wait that long time to have more children. It just said he lived a certain span of time, and in between his time, he had sons and daughters. The person given a chronology in Genesis, as in Chronicles, is letting it be known where it gets into the house of Israel. The world was already populated by this point with different peoples. This is something we want to point out, and this is pointing this out in the book of Genesis, if we will. All right? It goes on to say, verse 14, and all the days of Canaan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalalel lived 65 years and begot Yared. And Mahalalel lived after he begot Yared 830 years and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Mahalalel were 895 years, and he died. So you see this Mahalalel in Genesis chapter 5:15. That EL at the end of his name, as pointed out there, highlighted in that is El. This is before Canaan came about. It's before Noah came about. They was already referring to the Most High as El. So it's not from a Canaanite pantheon that El comes from. Just want to point that out for reference purposes. All right? Any questions or comments, please feel free to type it in the chat. El from Ayil means to be mighty. Do you know that El is seen in Deuteronomy 28, verse 32? And that's pointed out in the presentation I did on Mora Yeshaya history lessons and Mora Yeshaya Torah lessons, Smashing the Synagogue of Satan. Deuteronomy 28, verse 32 says, you shall have no strength. Your sons and daughters shall go into captivity and shall be no might in your hand. That word might is the word El in the Hebrew. So this is why we want to lift up our linguistics matter. Before, no disrespect, I will say this. You call in America, press 2 for Espanol. I will not go on a concourse in the Bronx with a Spanish dictionary or a Spanish book and talking to the Boricuas and the Dominicanos. I'm not doing that. I'll be playing myself. If you can't speak that language, don't come, like Wu-Tang Clan said, professing knowledge as a tool, coming with that lip professing and so forth. People want to know at this point, what can you speak? Because children are born speaking a certain language. So I say that to say this. Just as much as you will not go in the Bronx, and I was born in the Bronx, it's no knock whatsoever. You will not go in the Bronx and stand on by the concourse, by Webster Avenue, by Jerome Avenue. You will not get off that 6th train on Lexington and 103rd by El Barrio with a Spanish dictionary and think you're going to be able to challenge the people who sat there can speak it in Spain, Costa Rica, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and DR. They'll laugh at you. So why do we as Israelites who've been studying Hebrew, teaching Hebrew, take somebody who didn't take out the time to learn it, say, well, El is really a Canaanite deity. You need to get your studying up and keep your mouth shut. I know what I'm talking about because I made that mistake twice. That's Polo. My Panamanian friend was saying, no, this is Pollo, and it means dog. I said, no, those are 2 L's. He said, sir, I was in the 5th grade. He was from Panama. He was like, the 2 L's represent a Y in a different language. And the way he said it in a different language was like, you illiterate such and such. I ain't going to say the word I thought when he was saying it in spirit with the cursing. No, he didn't curse me out. But that's the Ruach. It was like, in a different language, you ignorant such and such. This represents this. Get your studies up. Okay? It's not Polo. It's Pollo. And it means this. I was like, we're both 10, 11 years old and in 5th grade. Classmate, we're both kids, children. I made that same mistake with a 5%er. The brother spoke Arabic like I'm speaking English. And I tried to show my Lila Ta'ib and Salam, and he told me the smithereens in Arabic. He was like, no, the rules of this is this. The vowels of this is this. The root of this is this. And I was like, oh, I was 31 at that time. My point is, on a human level, know before whom you stand. You never know what somebody knows. So I had it happen when I was about 10 and when I was 31. So I say that to say, Israel, if you're getting your studying on in the Hebrew, don't let somebody who cannot, and I use this as an example, who cannot spell the word shalom or tell you that it means more than peace, it also means compensation. If their studies maybe have not gone to a certain level, don't let that person make you wonder, is it really Yisrael because El was Canaanite? No, they didn't study Genesis 5 maybe in the names in it. There is on this channel the translation of the names in Genesis. And I did that Torah because my mom, may she rest in peace, used to be turned off from the Bible, if I can use that term right. Mahalalel, Lamech, Methuselah, Enoch. No, I'm used to names like Malcolm and Martin. I'm used to names like Angela and Davis and a gentleman named Huey and Newton. You can follow me? So mommy wasn't used to names like we see in Genesis. So it turned her off from it. So I decided it was a good idea, Torah, to bring the translation of the names in Genesis so we can relate to it. And the translation of the 12 tribes of Israel. And the translation of the songs that we've been listening to. You understand? Beni Adat, 1991, Passover. Not long after the gentleman from Panama put me on about Pollo. Right? No, not he. We are inside the camp on Passover in 1991. And the women were singing in Hebrew. And I said to my mother, Mommy, what they're saying? And my mother looked at me in all the white garments she had on and said, I don't know. I said, nah, yo, we ain't doing this. Of course, I ain't say that to get my teeth slapped out to my mom's. But I said, what do you mean you don't know? This is 1991. We've been in Israel since 1982. That's 9 years. I'm already 11. Mommy, what they're singing at Passover, I don't know what they're saying, son. I made it my business, thank the Most High. In that same place in Beni Adat, sat under a man named Adon Aharon ben Zebulun, may he rest in peace. And I studied that Hebrew. I studied later under Kohen Mikael. May the Most High continue his life. And I studied under More Mishael after that, who is now deceased, may he rest in peace. Moreh Mishael, who the community in Dimona got him to go to Dimona to teach Hebrew. Did you hear what I just said? The people in Dimona, some of them born in the land of Israel, got a man out of Brooklyn, New York, to go and teach them Hebrew. I sat under that man, Moreh Mishael. May he rest in peace. So I'm saying the Most High will always have one or some to do a particular mission. You just got to sit there and seek it. If your third eye is open, let it wander for you and try to seek things out. You never know how the Most High brings something together. You never know that. And brothers and sisters, on the other side, if you seek out wickedness, we used to say in the prayers when I was a child, the Most High will give evil to the wicked according to his wickedness. Case in point, as we go into the 7th month, this is not just a Hebrew class, right? I saw the movie Paid in Full. May Richard Porter rest in peace. Your man in the movie, Ace, I'm friends with him on Facebook, by the way, the real AZ Faison. Hope I don't get in trouble for saying his name online. The real person who Wood Harris played as Ace, I'm friends with him on Facebook. He left that life of doing what he was doing. He talks about it. But what am I attempting to point out in this case? He gives to the wicked evil according to his wickedness. Your man got shot in the neck, in the head. And in the movie said, I'm shot, baby. And in real life, AZ was talking about, I had a brace to take a bullet, not a punch. He said that God talked to him that night that the movie showed and asked him, do you want to live? And AZ said, yes, God, I want to live. He said that his spirit left his body. This is on the internet. I'm not making this up. He spoke on it. He said his spirit left the body and looked down and see that guy who's now doing life just shooting the body. He said, you ain't shot me. He said, God asked him, do you want to live? And he said, yes. And his body was left there. His spirit left him. And he looked down, seeing the physical body getting shot up. That's what he said on the internet. This is not something I'm making up. And to this day, he's alive. Alpo was dead. Richard Porter's dead. Alpo killed Rich Porter. What are we pointing out in real life? When your man Ace got shot, that was the Ezekiel blowing the trumpet. Yom Teruah was today, with the Jewish man called Rosh Hashanah. The blowing of the trumpets, the Mosai's talking. Your man got shot in the neck and the head, and he lived. Yah is talking, leave this life alone. How many people? My cousin got shot. He ain't survived getting shot in the neck and the head. And he didn't get shot there. He got shot in the chest or the torso. He ain't make it. But Ace did.
It wasn't for him.
The Most High didn't want his soul to leave. I'm going to leave you here so you can talk to the other people who want to do what you did. I got 50,000 in the trunk. I had about 40 cars. Of course, we just threw a pair of the shoes. We didn't sit there and try to clean our Nikes. What? We just throw them in the garbage. I bought him a car when he came up out of jail, just like that. And when I talk to people, not to mention certain personal things about that, I remember asking, you know, some of my relatives, how come y'all stayed right there? And I got the answer. When you get a house, you got to prove where you getting that money from. I was like, oh. He said, I can't be on 8th Avenue or 148 talking about this the bank. I said, that's why those big hustlers don't sit there and buy those things. Unless they doing the Scarface thing in the movie and everybody's undercut. They said they cannot go. I asked him, I said, you couldn't go to a bank. He said, I cannot go to a bank with $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. They're going to ask me proof of employment. Where's your pay stub? Where's this? Where's that? I can't say I was making it selling the H or the C. We know what we're talking about, grown talk in that world. I'm like, oh. So point being, looking at that, in Ezekiel chapter 18, it says, if the wicked turn from his way, Ezekiel 33 says, why will you die, O house of Israel, but change from your ways? So if your man in 1987 got shot in the neck, in the head, and lived, and you continue in the same thing, oh, Southern Kingdom of Judah, you saw the Northern Kingdom of Israel. Oh, that ain't gonna be me. I'm good. You're gonna catch it worse because the next bullets that ring off didn't have the same effect. May Rich Porter rest in peace. He, like Ace, got shot in the head. One lived, one didn't. That was a warning call. When your man is alive and he's telling you while in the hospital, look, the cops came. They know everything. They've been tracking us, man. They know what we've been doing. I'm still sit there and sell these keys. I'm still sit there and get my grind on. If you had a mindset of an entrepreneur with someone to call hustling or grinding, you could have done it in a much more positive light. Not everybody has that business savvy to blow up. Some people just don't have it like that. You got certain men in the front that can fight better than certain men in the back. Maybe Jacob knew that. Put the sons of the handmaids in the front when I meet Esau. Because Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, they might throw down different. They're not as old as Reuben, Simeon, and Levi, and Judah, and Issachar, and Zebulun. Well, some of them were. But nonetheless, he knew the way that he set it up, and you was not going to touch Jacob or Esau. According to the book of Joshua, if you believe in that, Dan's son killed Esau. Dan's son Cushim killed Edom himself, his uncle or great uncle, for the drama that he tried to bring to Jacob. So, brothers and sisters, if that be the case, it says Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Could that be the reason why Dan is known as such for avenging, judging, also Dan meaning avenger in the linguistics? So, brothers and sisters, looking at that and how all of that ties into the timing of the 7th month, they're talking about the storm, Hurricane Lee, and those who do know, if you follow it, you do know the hurricanes come from West Africa and go west. You know what used to go west? The slave ships. When you study things in black communities, RBG or otherwise, they point out that the hurricanes follow the pattern of the slave ships. What did you do in what they call the Bermuda Triangle that the Most High has it doing what it does over there? What energy did y'all leave there for that? When Isaiah says y'all will make a new heavens and a new earth, it's because this earth is like, clean me up, and that's going to be the new one, clean one. There's something over there in that Ruach there that makes something happen all the time. Do you know that's not, correct me if I'm wrong, from Barbados? Barbados was the shortest trip in the slave trade from Western Africa. And it opened its quote slave ports in 1605. So, brothers and sisters, getting back into this, Israel, as we get into the timing of Yom Kippur, as is usually, not trying to say it's a custom, change your ways. Even if you want to use an example like that movie Paid in Full. He lived after getting assaulted. That was the horn being blown that Ezekiel 33 talks about. So let's learn from that. The right side of this, Elohai, my God. Eloheka, you may have heard Eloheka before, your God. Elohayik, your God, when speaking to a female. Elohai, his God. You see that in Leviticus 21 or Leviticus 22, one of the chapters. Eloheha, her God. Eloheinu, know you heard Eloheinu, people, because we say Shema, Yisrael, Yah, Eloheinu, our God. And Elohehem, their God, when speaking about their God, when speaking to males. Brothers and sisters, can we say that the Most High and there's no disrespect intended in term is a it, because Moses said you can't say male or female. Whatever the Most High is, the Most High is saying you cannot see me and live. Can your creation see you? If you make a cartoon, can it see you? Of course not. So if the Most High made us, what makes us think that we'll see him in that manner, like dapping up, hey, my man's in them? No. You think parents say things like, I ain't one of your little friends? The Most High is saying, don't come before me with your shoes on. Take your shoes off. I made the earth. I'm telling you, you're on holy ground here. Don't bring what you wore out there in front of me. Take your shoes off, Joshua. Take your shoes off, Moses. It's a matter of respect. And then there's a time you do put on your shoes when you're leaving for your own, as in the Passover. The Most High wants us to have our own. Why do you think covetousness is so bad? It lacks responsibility. I want his wife. I want his kippah. I want his shoes. I want his books. I want his house. I want his children. You should not covet anything that is your neighbor's. So if it says her husband, yeah, polygyny for those who want it is there. But don't be that snake type of woman. I'm just going to sit there and just work my way. Sister, if you're involved mentally with another man, approach his wife and give some respect. Like, can we be sister wives? I don't know if she'll say yes or not, but at least you can say you asked an honor and not, I'm just going to be the side one. Because that don't work in Israel. We see how that turned out. Abraham and Sarah, Isaac and Rebekah. You see, Jacob ain't know who he was sleeping with in the time with him and Leah. See how that turned out. So bring it out, brothers and sisters. And same to you, my brother Saryehu. Shalom Lechem. Kak Sameach Yom Teruah Tov Lechem. I don't have a trumpet. I don't have a ram's horn here. But when it talks about blowing the horn in Ezekiel, as pointed out, let us do in that particular manner. Be that light to the people so the people can sit there and see that. Danger. Don't do that. You understand? So, again, in closing this particular slide out, El is not a from the pantheon of the Canaanite gods, because El was known before Noah existed, thus before Canaan existed. All right, just want to point that out. And we see it there with the name Mahalalel, meaning praising El. All right, let's go on, family. Get your pens and paper. We are going to do this verbal and visual. Subscribe to the channel. That's the Day and Night Publications logo. Do you know what picture that is? According to the Bible encyclopedia I have, you know who they say that is? An image of Dawid. They say that's a modern day person of how Dawid would have looked. Yeah, when you look at that dictionary, the person is, yeah, we're going to say of color. October 1st, stay tuned. We're going to do a presentation called The Story of Solomon, as we did the story of David. All right? I want to take on a human level, having made an anniversary with the woman in my life. When I was doing that presentation about David, the internet was acting up with the whole sounding thing with the audio, and I got frustrated. And my lady said, try it again. No, I'm going to just forget it. Maybe it ain't meant for me. What's the point of teaching? No, because you're a moray. That's why you do it. Try it again. Tried it again. Stupendous. Thanking the Most High. I got a new computer since then, but when we was in the South in 2021, this thing ain't working. Who knows? It might work when we get back. We got back to New York, boom, and it worked. Men, stop listening to your Rehoboam-like friends. Not all your friends is your comrade or your kabir. Some are frenemies. We know it ain't a such word, but we know what we do. Frenemies. Foemies. Not for me, but my foes. The Most High spoke of his enemies. The Most High said Solomon had enemies, and Solomon wasn't even 20 years old when he took the throne. He already had an inheritance of enemies. So you're going to have haters. What you do, brothers and sisters, stay on the side with the Most High God. And you can only do that through obedience. And I've not been perfect. I promise you I've not been perfect. But one of the ways of the Most High is showing yourself, the man in the mirror, and self-assessing like I've done wrong. What they call the 9 days of penitence until the timing of Yom Kippur from this timing of such. Look within oneself. Because when I kept this ceremony at Yom Kippur as a child and go right back to stealing, I'm like, why did I fast? I'm still stealing. I'm 8, 9, 10 years old. I remember that. I may as well just ate the sandwich, drink the ginger ale, and chill. If you're going to turn right back to your iniquities, leave it alone. And even if you got to do a physical leaving, a person that was a hustler, left from that life, became a lawyer, and had to physically leave from those in another manner. Shem, Ham, or Japhet. Henry Hill, you know, the guy with the Goodfellas thing. He said he had to leave, even though he went back to the Bergen crew or whatever. He said he had to leave that in order to go into the army. In order to sit there and escape that kind of ruach or energy. He went back to it, and then we see what wound up happening. The same ones he went back to was looking to plot against him. So brothers and sisters, self-assess. Look to see what's going on in your life. Is there a reason why the false prophet, Cananiah, was killed in the time of Jeremiah in the 7th month? You shall be in Babylon 70 years. Hananiah the prophet comes later and say, thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, within 2 years, Babylon will fall. The Most High told Jeremiah, go back and tell the people that he's a false prophet. I did not say 2 years. I said 70 years. And because you gave the people a false hope, because even Jeremiah, when you go and read, it's like, yes, there's another prophet. It's 2 years. Maybe I heard wrong. Not trying to be funny against the prophets. You know, you heard right. He spoke wrong. And say because you gave the people a lie about a deliverance to not come, you shall die within that year. And in the 7th month, which you're getting into now, did Cananiah the prophet die when Babylon besieged it? Brothers and sisters, when we get into this particular matter, Yom Kippur coming up, the Day of Atonement, it's not just about not eating or drinking. Again, you can do that while you at work. I work through my lunch. How many people work through their lunch hour in life? I have. Go back home. I'm too tired to even cook. I don't feel like waiting to order anything. Just out. That means in that whole day, you didn't even eat while working. So it's not about not eating or drinking. What it is about is getting in tune with self and loving your neighbor as yourself. So every camp, every brother, every sister that either has a pantry or supports it, even if they're not there physically, may the Most High bless your deeds, because the Apocrypha teaches us that alms is an atonement for sin. Maybe you don't want to trust a person, or you don't trust a person to say, here's your money, or here's money for you. But what do you want to eat? Now, my diet has gotten better, but I remember, not to be haughty, somebody was saying, I would like that in a soda. I said, brother, I'm not buying you a soda. I'll get you a water. Bruh, I just came out the hospital by myself, man. I'm not getting you a soda. I'll get you a water. All right, thank you. And the Tanakh tells you, we're going to read this. If somebody in the chat can type it in, you don't have to type the whole thing, but we're going to read in Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 7. It says this, Deuteronomy 15, verse 7. If there be among you a poor man of one of your brethren within any of thy gates, in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thy heart, nor shut thy hand from thy poor brother, but thou shalt open thy hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need in that which he wanteth. What does that tell you in Deuteronomy 15? That you're supposed to look out for your people. Don't sit there and have an evil heart, a hardened heart, but a heart of flesh, and shut your hand like, if I got it, you can get it too. Teach him how to get it. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 9. This here is not just a Hebrew class, all right? But we all, as we did go over Hebrew. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 9, verse 6. All right? What the timing allotted. Thank you for such. Proverbs 9 chapter and the 6th verse. And it says this. Forsake the foolish and live. Let's read that again. Forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding. Rehoboam friends, leave those kind of people. He that reproveth a scorner getteth to himself shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth himself a blot. Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate you. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love you. Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate you. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love you. That's how you can tell the difference between one who was a scorner and one who was wise. Not that you need to be their judge, but you can tell the difference because of how they receive the wisdom and the instruction that's being given. Some people you can't tell them anything. That kind of spirit. Well, I can't tell you nothing. Not because they got a blabbermouth, but in this case, because they don't know how to sit there and take instruction. You can't tell me that. No. It says what? Forsake the foolish, even the foolishness within yourself, and live and go in a way of understanding. Reprove not a scorner, but you don't know if he's a scorner until you try to reprove. And he will love thee. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, just in this case meaning righteous, and he will increase in learning. Teach a just man. That means just men, righteous men, you got to be teachable. Don't sit there, I know everything. No. I remember living in South Carolina. My daughter is older than the young men or the boys that was teaching me how to feed the goats. And one of them said, Yeshaya, they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. They're not like humans. I was like, wow. Wow. There's a squirrel that gets fed. Something tell us he's not going to try to attack. And he comes around the window ever so often. You understand? Sometimes twice a day. So I'm saying all of this to point out, brothers and sisters, that be teachable. I know of people who said, I love my mommy and daddy. I used to hide their cigarettes. Now, of course, you all like, this is my house. What you doing hiding my stuff? Did you pay for it? But you're doing that, say, out of love in that case. I know of someone whose mother was on crack, took his mother and said, we're going to the rehab. And when you get clean, we're leaving this area. That's love. You remember the Panthers? They used to have it to where they will literally be vomited on while people are going through the process of getting rid of the drugs in their system. Literally being hugged, and a person going through withdrawal symptoms, it's literally puking and vomiting on the other. You got to sit there and know how to sit there and deal with that with your people. You want to talk about, I am priest such and such. What do you think the priest in ancient Israel had to sit there and deal with? Let's see if the leprosy has spread to the scrotum. No homo. Let's see, heaven forbid, if one had leprosy, did it get over by her anus? And you being a male priest in Leviticus better not be on some Hophni and Pinchas. Yo, girl, let's sit it to the side. No, not that. So, brothers and sisters, always make a good name. In Israel, I've been looking up, unbeknown to many, RBG. There's nothing against what they're talking about that goes against what the Maccabees was about, that go against what the Maroons were about. The Maccabees were Israelites. Did you know how black people got to that college, Borough Manhattan Community College? It's because the Panthers went Borough Manhattan Community College, BMCC, that I taught in, thankful for that. I taught in that college 5 semesters. Because when it was on 59th Street, they didn't want black people in there. The Black Panthers chained themselves in order to sit there and have some kind of black admissions. Did you know the Black Panthers went to the guy who was the producer of the show, The Jeffersons, and said, this is too much of being a coon. This is too much of, hey, with JJ in Good Times. You're playing buffoonery. Norman Lear, the Panthers approached him saying, we don't like that image. So what is the difference between that and the Israelites that approach Caligula like that image ain't rocking over here? So why do we think as Israel, taking because there is no Hebrew word for religion. So taking the religious, what some will call just their services out, are you doing feeding the people? Are you defending the fatherless, the widow? Or are you trying to get in between her legs? She's a single mother and I just need somebody for my kids. And you try to be that snake and slither in that. And don't think her son know what that's about. He's a male too. So you have to know what the charlatan spirit is as well. You have to know, no disrespect, to get rid of the pedophilia spirit in that particular case. Because you don't hide your wife in Israel. Al tisatir ishtika Yisrael. You do not hide your wife in Israel. Ishtika lo tistatir me'amka ba Yisrael. Your wife is not hid among your people in Israel. One of the things the princes used to bring out is announce her, let her be known. Not, I got this one, and I got this one. The Most High don't want to hide Israel. Me and my lady was just talking about that. Israel, you know your position, the head and not the tail. The Most High wants Israel promoted. Isaiah 54 said Israel is his wife. So if he's our husband, the best, like my lady said, the best judge, the best Ish Milkama warrior, Ish Gadol, because chief in Hebrew can be the word Ish as well. Then why not follow the godly pattern in that case? When you go in prayer before the Most High, being his wife as the house of Israel. And when your lady tells you something that's on her spirit, don't let it trouble you. Because you don't want the Most High to feel troubled when you come before him as your Ish, as your Rosh, as your head. Heaven forbid the Most High, not right now, okay? Or as many of us do, I'm at work. The Most High is always working. He ceased from his work on said time. So, what does Deuteronomy 23:6 mean when it says not to speak, not to seek their prosperity? That is talking, thank you for the question for that. That is talking about the situation with Moab and Ammon. Don't seek their prosperity. In other words, don't sit there and look for those who offended your ancestors to prosper. Because they met you not with bread and water, but hired a witch, a Mikashef, named Balaam to curse you. That's what it is. You don't forget what happened in that particular case. The Most High, knowing the spirit of the Moabites and the Ammonites, did not like the Israelites. They were not friends. So you can't seek the prosperity of people who are not your friends. You got to separate from that. They cannot come into the congregation in that particular manner. So brothers and sisters, thank you for the question, Hebrew boy in that manner. Now I want to say, when I say Hebrew boy, that's the name that was put up there. I'm not calling nobody a boy. I got a pet peeve with that, but if that's your name, I respect that online. So brothers and sisters, get your pens, your pads, your paper. We're going to get in some Hebrew. And afterward, as the presentation goes on, we're going to have a prayer service and acknowledge the new moon, the 7th month has come in. Israelites may refer to it as the time of penitence and so forth. What about Europeans? And the message was retracted. Okay, so if you wanted an answer for that, you can put the message back up. That's up to you. If it's retracted, I'm going to move on in that case. Let's go on, family, in this. Remember we were saying get your pens, your pads, and take notes? There ain't one English word on here. So what we're going to do with the time allotted is look at this. And we're going to show with the laser pointer, if we will, right? Thank you for that. Ush moratem et kukwotai wa et mishpatai asher yaase adam, pardon me, asher yaase otam ha-adam wakai bahem. Now, what word might stand out? Et, we went over that earlier. Kai, what does kai mean? Can somebody type that in the chat? Kayim, lakayim, kai. You understand? So, looking upon that in that particular realm, Usmaratem et kukwotai, wa et mishpatai asher yaase otam ha'adam wakai bahem. Yes, it means life. That's what the word chai means. But I want to point something out in the Hebrew here with the time allotted. Thank you for that. And we're going to go to the highlighter, right? Asher Yaase Otam. And we're going to go, brothers and sisters, and show this. What's being shown with the yellow on the bottom and the red up top, right? And then underlined there in the red. That word Otam. Let us go back in the presentation, right? As we go along in this. And what do we see, brothers and sisters, in this particular manner? Right? Them, otam, same word. This is a direct pronoun. This goes after verbs, never before. So this is a word, otam, that you see there in the red there, all right, that goes after the verb. So if that be the case, as we pointed out, we want to identify what the verb is. That was part of the mission statement in this presentation, right? Let's look. Sound like the college people. The mission statement is, I normally don't talk like that. Mission statement. Anyway, let's look, if we will, family. Right? Otam. So if that goes after the matter of the verb, where's the verb? It's in the word ya'ase. So we're going to, with the highlighter in the green, show that. That's the verb. All right? This is what we're talking about when we're saying that Hebrew is easy. Now let's look, family. Ushmoratem, and you all shall keep. Et kukotai, even my laws, my statutes. Wa et mishpatai, and even my judgments. Asher which ya'afe otam ha'adam, which if a man, he will do them. Wachai bahem, and live in them. It becomes your life. Not your part-time, not your hobby, but dealing in the laws of the Most High becomes a life matter. It's the only doctrine on earth of all the ancient records that can say it will promote your life and lengthen your days. Can that law be applied pertaining to the Europeans, seeing they went above and beyond? We are taught to not add to the words of the law. So I can't say that that law will apply to that in that manner. That doesn't mean that haven't been used as their prosperity. Some of us may feel that the jobs that we got, that we working as the ops, aka the opposition, against our people. But what we're supposed to do is look out and love one another. And that which does not love and look out for you will flay by the wayside by default. Love your neighbor as yourself, love your brother as yourself. The people who are not brotherly and they who are not your good neighbors, while you're doing the right thing, will just flay away. Your righteousness will cause them to flee. And that's Proverbs in that particular manner. So just want to point that out. All right. So let's look. We have here, brothers and sisters, all right. Want to point this out. Let's use the black, for instance, in this. Ushmartem, wa'et, asher ha'adam wakai bahem. Now remember we were talking about get your pens and your pads? This is what we're talking about in this particular case. All right? Let's look. Ush Martin. Et Ku Quotai. Et Mish Patai. Asher Yaase Otam Ha Adam. We want to show this in real time. That's why I did it like that. Wakai Bahem. So, brothers and sisters, what does this mean? Yes, you can ask any question you want, Hebrew boy. And again, I'm only saying that to those online who may hear it, is because that's the person's name online. I'm not calling no man or boy. All right. But yes, you can ask any question. I actually encourage the conversation back and forth. And it's appreciated. Thank you for that. Right? Laser pointer. Ushmartem. and you all shall keep. Et kukotai, even my laws. Wa et mishpatai, and even my judgments. Asher ya'ase otam, which he will do, he being ha'adam, a man, will live and live in them. That's what that means in that case. I'm not putting the English there. That's why before this, we were going over and saying verbal and visual. We want to promote Hebraic understanding. If you are watching this later, and we are at the second, according to my timing here, 1 hour, 55 minutes, and 18 seconds, you can ask in the comments when this is uploaded, and we will get into that more in that particular time. But I'm not putting no English on it. That is from Leviticus chapter 18, verse 5, which is some of the same words we see in verse 4. Shamar, to keep, kukwotai, mishpatim, mishpatai. We went over the word asa. I showed you when we went over the word otam, and we went and showed bahem. You see bahem on the last line? Let's go and show this again. See, when you're doing this, and it says test a friend, and the people are subscribing and it's appreciated, let the student know that you respect him. If you want to use the word student, I'm kind of funny about that. But let the person who gives you the respect to want to hear you, the audience, don't think they're not learning by saying, and step 2, now that we went past step 4, this has already been maybe screenshotted by you. So you see by him on the right-hand side, on the 4th line, and we see by him again right here. So therefore, if you're following along, and I'm not saying you have to be a follower, but we do ask you to subscribe, you can see where this goes in this particular manner. Any questions or comments, please feel free to type it into the chat. Conclusion, and now we pray. This ends the presentation for Leviticus 18, Hebrew Part 2. We hope you enjoyed it and learned from it. We too hope you all, which is our Tim, you all, will comment on it, like it, and share it. And let me change that, if I may, for the moment. All right? Enjoyed it, learned from it. That's an extra comma that didn't need to be there. All right? And share it. We intend to go into Leviticus 18 Hebrew Part 3, in which we will discuss relatives as well as the Lamed Hey verb. Now, that's next week. What do we mean relatives? Leviticus 18, the nakedness of him, the nakedness of her. So we're going to learn the word for brother, father, mother, aunt, uncle, and so forth. So these are things we want to point out. So stay tuned for the presentation coming next week in that particular manner with relatives. In the Lord, there were nations the Most High said not to marry. However, in Ezra, we find Israel being accused of sin for marrying nations that's not mentioned in law. So can Europe be hated, though not in law? I want to say this, if we will. Ezra and Nehemiah was purging Israel as their leaders. Zechariah around that time was teaching love your neighbor as yourself and devise not evil against your brother in your heart. And Malachi around the same time of Ezra was saying that Judah married the daughter of a strange god. Why does Deuteronomy say don't marry into particular nations? Because they're going to teach you about serving their gods and will turn you from the Most High God. Me and my lady speak quite often on it. All nations will serve the Most High doesn't mean we got to go and be married together. So what Ezra and Nehemiah were doing is seeing that, no disrespect intended, The sisters of the people, the women of the people, were being neglected while the men were going for women of other nations. I'm not saying she's the best or worst person, and there's no slander on no one. Little Kim used to say she used to hate white women taking her boyfriends. Sisters say today that they're losing brothers to European women and to men with the DL homosexual stuff. So, in order to build the people back up, what Ezra and Nehemiah had to do was have the people make a covenant before the Most High to not deal with foreign women. Yes, you are what your father is. But what is the point in the daughters of Levi and Gad and Manasseh and Judah being there if you want to go to Philistines, if you want to go to Moabites, if you want to go to Ammonites, if you want to go to the daughters of Javan or the Greeks? What is the point in your own? Where's your uniqueness in that particular own matter? You understand? Because we have to think, Israel's going into the land of Canaan and meeting the Canaanites before they meet the Philistines. The Philistines have their own God. Goliath, quote, cursed David in the name of his God. David fought in the name of his God. All nations fight in the name of their God. When the Europeans came, they came in the name of their God. And so we want to point things out for reference purposes in that particular manner. Proverbs and wisdom teaches us to drink wells out of your own water and not strangers with you. Have your own. Don't sit back and think that women of other nations are better than your grandmother or your mother or your sister. The wicked woman is the portion of a wicked man when you go in the Apocrypha. So if you got to go near or far to find your significant other, then do so.
Use discernment.
But while tying that into what we're talking about with the timing of checking self with these 9 days of penitence, the Most High is talking to a specific people. And this specific people, he wants them to be together. You understand? Should the nations of Ham that are not of the same nation just blend in and mix in that? No, they shouldn't. One of the reasons why you can say that is because in Daniel chapter 10, we see that each nation is given an angel. And in Daniel 12, it says, Michael, the prince that stands for the children of your people. So, for the lack of a better term, Archangel Michael will be the angel for Israel. So if you are on earth dealing and crossing national lines, not in worship and praise, but in procreating and recreating, then what is that doing to the order that was already established? That's something we care to point out for reference purposes. So hopefully that answer was satisfactory. I intended again to do this last night. So it says, yes, have a good night, Shabbat and week. And we still hope everybody will have a good night, a good Shabbat and week. We will now have a prayer time in acknowledgement of new moon. This being the 7th month, Etanim. Etanim means strength in Hebrew. Did you know that? The 7th month is Etanim. And Etanim means strong ones. For the word Etan, to be mighty, to be strong. So, let us face toward our land. You may want to sit, you may want to stand. That's your decision. We ask you to face toward our land. We don't want to say facing the east, because in Ezekiel chapter 8, it said that they faced the east and prayed. and it was talking about worshiping the sun. So we don't want to say we're facing the east. We're saying, because most of us are in the west, we're facing east. We're facing toward the land. All right? Just want to point that out. We'll be reading in Numbers chapter 10, verse 10. And Yah spoke unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, and the first day of the month, shall be a solemn rest unto you, a memorial proclaimed with the blast of horns, a holy convocation. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, let us read in the book of Psalms, chapter 147, verse 18. Psalms chapter 147, verse 18. He sendeth out his word, and it melteth them. He causeth his wind to blow, and the waters flow. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yah. Let us go to read Hosea chapter 14, verse 1. Numbers chapter 10, verse 10. First, sorry. Numbers chapter 10, verse 10. Also, in the day of your gladness, and in your appointed seasons, and in your new moons, you shall blow with the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings. And they shall be to you for a memorial before your God. I am the Lord your God. Hosea chapter 14. Return, O Israel, unto the Lord thy God, for thou hast stumbled in thine iniquity. Take with you words and return unto Yah. Say unto him, forgive all iniquity and accept that which is good. So will we render for bullocks the offerings of our lips. So instead of our bullocks and our peace offerings that we have the offerings of our lips in the scriptures. Joel chapter 2. Yet even now, says Yah, turn ye unto me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with lamentation, and rend your heart and not your garments, and turn unto Yah your God, for he is gracious and compassionate, long suffering and abundant of mercy, and repenteth him of the evil. Who knows whether he will not turn and repent, and leave a blessing behind him, even a meal offering and a drink offering unto the Lord your God. So it's telling us that the Most High is of compassion and grace, long suffering. So don't let them tell you there's no grace in the Old Testament. Long suffering, meaning that he'll deal with your stuff for X amount of time, and abundant in mercy. That's the God we're talking about. He will turn from what he would have done to you and leave a blessing behind him for you. A meal offering and drink offering, which you still got to give to your people because it goes as a system in that manner. And this is our prayer service. We'll be reading solely Psalms 115. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Not unto us, O Yah, not unto us, but unto thy name give glory, for thy mercy and for thy truth's sake. Wherefore should the heathen say, where is now their God, Elohim? But Eloheinu, our God, is in the heavens. He hath done whatsoever he has pleased. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Out they handle not. Feet have they, but they walk not. Neither speak with their throat. They that make them are like unto them. So is everyone that trusts in them. O Yisrael, trust thou in Yah. He is their help and their shield. O house of Aharon, trust in Yah. He is their help and their shield. Ye that fear Yah, trust in Yah. He is their help and their shield. Yah have been mindful of us. Yah have been mindful of us. So why let's not be mindful of Yah? He will bless us. He will bless the house of Israel. He will bless the house of Aharon. He will bless them that fear Yah, both small and great. Yah shall increase you more and more, you and your children. You are blessed of Yah, which made heaven and earth. The heaven, even the heavens, are the Most High's, but the earth hath he given to the children of men. The dead praise not Yah, neither any that go down into silence. But we will bless Yah from this time forth and forevermore. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Giving honor and praise unto Yah, Ha'el HaRachman, the merciful God. Ha'el HaRo'eh HaKol, the God who sees all. Wa'el Ashelo Yera'eh, and the God who is not seen. Ha'el HaShofet HaKol, the God who judges all. Wa'el Ashelo Yishapet, and the God who is not judged. Ha'el Hama'akil Kol Debarim, the one who feeds all things. Wa'el Ashelo Yokal, and a God who will not eat. Ata Ha-Gorem Wa'ata Ha-Gomer, you are the former and the ender. Ata Ha-Rishon Wa'ata Ha-Akarit, you are the beginning and you are the end. Ain Mil Badeka, there is none beside you. But Shemayim O Ba'aretz, in the heaven or in the earth. Ain no shape al Kiseka Mil Badeka Etzlaka Ain, there is none that sits in your throne beside you or next to you. Ata Shomeya Kol Debarim, for you hear all things. Al Kain Nitpalel Lefaneka, therefore do we pray before you. Lishmo El Tefilotenu, to hear our prayers. Wata'ane Otan, and to answer them. But Yom Kwar'enu, in the day that we call. Titain Lanu Babakusha Rakamim Kanunim Kamulim Wagam Kain Shalomim. Give us mercies, compassions, graciousness, and even peace. Hallelujah.
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 Amen.
Amen. Torah.
Torah. Giving honor and praise unto Yah, the creator, the maker of heaven and earth. Thus ends this presentation. We hope and pray that everybody is well and will be better. Stay tuned. We do not, however, intend during the Sabbath to do another presentation, but around the time I'm going to have my dinner, I do intend, say about 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to do a presentation on the channels Mordeh Yeshaya History Lessons 1 and 2. And it is about what diaspora was it? Was it the diaspora of the African man or the Hebrew man that scattered into Africa? So we have that presentation coming up on the channels Mordeh Yeshaya History Lessons, Part 1 and Part 2. Subscribe to those channels. Shalom Lechem. Thank you all for joining. May the Most High bless us all.